SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
At Community Bank, we're more than a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors and trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've helped families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. We're dedicated to your success every step of the way. Community Bank, member FDIC.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning. Tuesday morning, January 6th. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Glad to have you along as we begin another day. Going to be a nice day across the state of Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. I'm Richard. That other guy, he's Lance. Hello, Lance. Good morning.
Good morning, Richard.
Shaking, brother.
Man, it is hot down here. I don't know about up there, but it is. It's getting back to winter, summer again.
Winter, summer, he says.
Yes, sir. It'll be 70. It was like 65 when I left the house. So foggy. If people are in the central Mississippi area today, be careful because it was misty and foggy and damp. So that's my warning to you.
A little bit.
The cops were out too, so be careful.
Oh, was this an unusual day for cops to be out?
I just think with all the fog and mist and stuff, they were juxtaposed at places where I normally don't see them. And there was a good bit of traffic this morning, too. I think everybody's getting, as I like to say, crunk back up. Kind of like the Rebels are, it seems like.
Kind of getting back in the swing of things.
Back in the swing of things. So be careful out there today.
It's going to be warm-ish all over the state, especially for this time of year. Senatobia's got cloudy skies this morning, going to become partly cloudy later in the day. Slight chance of rain for you with a 66-degree high temperature today. Winds out of the southwest at 10 to 15 miles an hour. Columbus, you've got cloudy skies with a slight chance of a rain shower. 71 degrees for you this afternoon. Winds out of the southwest at 5 to 10. Down in the Delta, areas of patchy fog early in Belzona with cloudy skies this afternoon. 72 for your high. Winds out of the southwest. And Petal. Patchy fog this morning, kind of like Lance was talking about just a second ago. Cloudy with a high of 78. Petal, you're knocking on 80 degrees on the 6th of January. This is where you go, man. Baseball season's close, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it'll be 20 degrees.
Yeah.
The coldest place you'll ever be is on the bench at a baseball game at the very beginning of the season.
That's right. I've not done it on the bench, but I have in the stands watching the guys on the bench and on the field, and, brother, there are some cold days at the ballpark in February and into March.
There is, and that's where the hijinks happen, too, because you got to stay loose and kind of warm. So you got a lot more hijinks happening at the early part of the season just to kind of keep everybody loose and going.
6th day of January, pretty popular day in history. Joan of Arc was born on this day in 1412, a Roman Catholic saint and national heroine of France. She was born in Duchy of Bar, France. I don't know if I said that right, but we're just going to go with it with a great deal of confidence. John Smith was born on this day in 1580, the English explorer. Spent a lot of time in the Chesapeake Bay in New England. He was the leader of the Virginia colony of Jamestown, born in Lincolnshire, England. Danny Thomas, born on this day in 1912, the American actor, comedian, and TV host. Aptly named The Danny Thomas Show, was born in Deerfield, Michigan. And yet, being an actor, a comedian, and a TV host, not the enduring legacy of Danny Thomas. Danny Thomas, the founder of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. As the story goes, Danny Thomas was down on his luck in his TV career, was kind of out of work, looking for a gig, hoping that things were... Sorry, we're going to get through this together, I promise. He was kind of hoping that things were going to turn in the right direction, and he called on St. Jude Thaddeus, the patron saint of lost causes, and offered up a prayer that says, if you'll give me a break, if you'll help me take care of my family, I will build you a shrine. And that shrine became St. Jude. And no child, no family that is treated at St. Jude ever gets a bill. Ever. It's one of the most amazing places that I have ever stepped foot in my life.
I've never been in it, but the commercials and the knowledge I mean, when I watch the commercials of those youngsters and the smiles on their faces, man, I'll tear up in 2 seconds. It doesn't take, it's just, especially the little guy. Man, it is just amazing the work that they do. It really is.
Yeah. And the amazing thing about it is it's not a sad place. It's an incredibly happy place when you visit, when you're there.
Seeing the smiles on
It's about hope and finding cures and saving children. So Danny Thomas, born in 1912. Carrie Middlecoff, Dr. Carrie Middlecoff, born on this day in 1921. Do you know that Carrie Middlecoff went to school at Ole Miss? College golfer there. Went on to win the 1949 U.S. Open, won it again in 1956, and in 1955, he was the Masters champion. Born in Halls, Tennessee, later got his dental degree and became Dr. Carrie Middlecoff. I've often said that Carrie Middlecoff should be more celebrated.
I agree, definitely.
In terms of Ole Miss athletics history. 2 U.S. Opens and a Masters?
Yeah, I went to school there, got a couple degrees there, and I don't know much about Dr. Carrie Middlecoff, but this is fascinating. I'm going to have to do a little deep dive a little later. That's good stuff there.
There you go. Rowan Atkinson is 71 today. He was born in 1955, the English comedian and actor. Perhaps you know him as Mr. Bean. Born in County Durham in England.
Blackadder is awesome if you've never seen it.
What is?
The English sitcom called Blackadder. It's 83 to 89. I'm a big fan of it. It's a trip, classic.
Was he also on Are You Being Served?
I don't know. That's
Maybe.
a good question.
One of those PBS, whatever. Nancy Lopez, born in 1957. 3 major titles for the American golfer. She won 48 times on the LPGA Tour. And Jameis Winston, quarterback, born in 1994. Heisman Trophy winner at Florida State in 2013. Made the Pro Bowl in 2015 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Also a quarterback for the Saints and the Cleveland Browns. And most recently, the New York Football Giants, born in Bessemer, Alabama.
I wonder if he's got a better crab leg supplier now.
I would think.
Yeah, probably so.
One of those guys that teammates absolutely love.
Oh, he's a hoot, man. He's absolutely one of the funniest guys to listen to. And a heck of an athlete, too.
Yeah, no doubt. Things that happened on this day. 1838, January 6th, 1838, Samuel Morse and Alfred Vail demonstrate their telegraph machine in New Jersey for the very first time.
What do you do with a misspelled word in a telegraph? When you pop in that thing. Is there an oopsie-daisy button?
Yeah, I don't know. Wait, strike that. Run it back. Today in 1929, Mother Teresa arrives in Calcutta to begin her work amongst the poorest in the country of India. In 1950, she established the Missionaries of Charity, a religious congregation that was initially dedicated to serving the poorest of the poor in the slums of Calcutta. Over the decades, the congregation grew to operate in over 133 countries. As of 2012, they had more than 4,500 nuns managing homes for those dying from HIV and AIDS, leprosy, and tuberculosis, as well as running soup kitchens, dispensaries, mobile clinics, orphanages, and schools. Members of the order take vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience, and also profess a fourth vow to give wholehearted free service to the poorest of the poor. Mother Teresa received a number of honors, including in 1962 the Magsaysay Peace Prize, and in 1979 she was named a winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. 1957, Elvis Presley made his seventh and final appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. A few more things that happened on this day and some news headlines coming up for you next. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic
Happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Glad to be with you on this Tuesday morning. It's disconcerting, Lance, when your job is to talk and you're not sure what sound is going to come out of your mouth when you open. And
A little crackle.
it's like the words are coming, but not the way they normally do. All the junk.
Plus, it's early. I mean, it takes a little while to get the voice box going and everything rocking and rolling. So,
I guess so.
I have some sympathy for you there. After you were on air yesterday till about 6, too, weren't you?
Well, I mean, it's not like we're out there digging ditches, buddy.
Yeah, I know, but talking, though. I mean, we're using that. You're using that voice. That's my point. A little strain on that.
Yeah. Today in 1976, Ted Turner bought the Atlanta Braves for $12 million.
Sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
Mm-hmm. Shortly thereafter, you had the Braves kind of working their way into becoming a national team because of TBS. You could watch them all over the country. It's one of the coolest things. Like, you'd go watch the Braves play in Los Angeles or somewhere out west. It's like, man, there are a lot of Braves fans there. People travel like that? Well, not really. I mean, you might occasionally have some Atlanta folks, some local folks making a road trip. You just had Braves fans all over the country because people were able to watch every single game they played. You had that with the Braves and you had that with the Cubs before the proliferation of the regional sports networks, which rose and then fell. And anyway, not like it used to be with the Braves. Nancy Kerrigan was attacked on this day in 1994. It's been 32 years ago.
Jeff Gillooly.
Attacked by Tanya Harding's bodyguard at the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Detroit, Michigan. Had a thug come in and go after her knee with a pipe. Is that what happened?
Yeah, Shane Stant was his name. And that was he was hired by the ex-husband, Gillooly, if I remember. And then Gillooly had another guy involved in it, like Eckhart, or I think that was his name. Yeah.
So Gillooly had a guy.
Yeah, had a guy. That's right. He had a guy.
Yeah.
And that was obviously to prevent Kerrigan from competing, but that was a mess of a story. The movie I, Tonya is a pretty good look into it. But yeah, I was very
Tonya.
Yeah, it's actually very well done. And Margot Robbie is Tanya in it. And, man, it is a great movie. If you haven't seen it,
So Tanya Harding, far more attractive in the movie than in real life.
You got it. Yes. But they did doll
Nancy
her up.
Kerrigan was this girl next door. I mean, became, figure that everybody just absolutely fell in love with as a result.
Mm-hmm. Well, and she was a heck of a skater. Both of them had a career where they had butted heads, were friends, but Tanya was a little crazy, and the people that she hung around were even crazier. So, that's kind of how that worked out.
Yeah.
You surround yourself with crazy. But, yeah, in the movie, they do doll Margot up in the best 80s gear that you can pop, and 90s gear to show, of the time. So it doesn't make her look like in The Wolf of Wall Street. So she looks a lot like Tanya in it. I mean, she does a great job, really.
Yeah.
Uglifying, I guess, which would be hard for her.
How about the Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2015? We're talking 20 years ago, 21 years ago. No, that's not right. 11 years ago. Let's not age ourselves more than we have to. This was the induction class in 2015. Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, John Smoltz, and Craig Biggio.
Yeah, that's a class there. There's some pitchers, especially. If I was Craig Biggio, I'd have kind of felt left out there. I mean, you got some studs there on the hill.
I'm the only one that could hit you guys, so they put me in too.
Exactly.
And finally, 5 years ago today, January 6th, ring a bell? 5 years ago today. It was 2021 when supporters of President Trump, and we have since come to find out a lot of people that were not necessarily supporters of Donald Trump stormed the Capitol in D.C. during the certification process of Joe Biden's election win. Kamala Harris as his vice president. Ultimately, 5 deaths, prompting the evacuation of lawmakers and Vice President Mike Pence. One of the dark days in United States history. But as time has gone on, much to the chagrin of many, the darkness of that day has, the blame for the darkness of that day has shifted a little bit. Without the agitators, without all the undercover FBI agents, without some of the instigators that were trying to turn that into a black eye and a black mark against Donald Trump, would it have turned as violent as it did? Would those 5 lives have been lost? Or if it had actually been a peaceful demonstration, would order have been maintained? Would the role that the media played in manipulating the story for 4 or 5 years, could the outcome have been different? There's no question that Donald Trump plays a role, and Republicans play a role in what happened. But if Donald Trump was the ember or the spark that started the fire, you got a lot of the deep state, a lot of undercover law enforcement people, a lot of bad dudes and gals in D.C. that were the wind, the accelerant, the gasoline on the fire. And you can't help but wonder if people were just decent people, if that dark day wouldn't be nearly as dark.
One of the things that always got me about that was the deaths. And you had a rider that was killed by a gunshot. That was the lady, Ashley Babbitt. And then you had one rider died of a drug overdose. 2 rallygoers died of natural causes. And then following January the 6th, there were the police officer who died of a stroke. And then you had 4 who committed suicide, police officers. So those were the deaths that were involved in that. It's always just been very weird and unclear. So you're saying 5 people died in the Capitol
riots is
what
not entirely accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it's the rider killed by the gunshot and the police officer who died of a stroke while on duty. Those were the two that actually happened during, if I recall, I think the police officer had a stroke the day of and died later. But 4 officers committed suicide, and then 2 rally-goers died of natural causes. One died, rider, of a drug overdose. So really the 2 were the lady, Ashley Babbitt, and the police officer that I remember. But yet it seems that that's still unclear. You know, it's I don't know. It's hard to get to the bottom of that sometimes. It was a mess, that's for sure.
Kind of in line with the did they die with COVID or did they die from COVID?
We're in that time period, too, so you never know.
Yeah. A couple of news headlines for you this morning. MUW President Dr. Nora Miller will soon be retiring. According to a press release, she shared her decision to retire effective June 30th of this year with faculty, students, and staff after careful reflection and long-term planning, emphasizing her commitment to a smooth leadership transition and continuity for the university. The IHL will be tasked with hiring a new president for the W. Dr. Miller said, "This is a deeply personal decision made with gratitude and pride. The W has shaped my life in profound ways as a student, as an administrator, and for the past 7.5 years as its president. Serving the university has been the privilege of a lifetime." Miller spent 30 years in higher ed. She is an alumnus that has served as vice president, senior vice president for finance and administration before assuming the role of president back in 2018. So we wish Dr. Nora Miller all the best in retirement. Maybe we'll get a chance to visit with her in the next few months leading up to that day when she will step away at the W. Good news on the homicide front in Jackson. We'll give you that update on the other side of this timeout. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. More coming up right after this.
I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, WKRP. Got kind of tired of packing and unpacking, town to town, up and down the dial. Maybe you and me were never meant to be. Just maybe think of me once in a while. I'm at WKRP in Cincinnati.
From the Seabrook.com.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Morning from us at Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, alongside Lance Holbert. I'm Richard. Thanks for joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Jackson Interim Police Chief and Hinds County Sheriff Tyree Jones had some good news to report, but he says not enough has been done yet. The murder rate in the capital city of Jackson is something that has been discussed much over the recent years. Progress being made, though, as the capital city's murder numbers declined for the 4th consecutive year, moving into double digits from triple digits for the first time in a long time. Credit to WLBT, they track homicides in Jackson. Reported on January 1st that 2025 ended with 75 killings, a 32% decrease from just 2024. and the first time since 2019 that the number has been under 100. The outlet added that 73% of the killings investigated by JPD in 2025 have already been solved, a rate that exceeds the national average. Again, Chief and Sheriff Tyree Jones said that while the numbers are progress, there's more work that is needed. For the first time in several years, our city's homicide rate has been reduced to double digits, a stark contrast to past years when homicides exceeded 100 and at times approached 150. While this is encouraging, we recognize that even one life lost is too many. Our hearts remain with the families who have suffered unimaginable loss, and we remain steadfast in our commitment to pursuing solutions that prevent violence and preserve life. Year-over-year crime numbers down in Jackson as well. Violent crime down 13%. 20% drop in property crime. So 654 fewer crimes in Jackson in 2025 than in 2024.
And remember that Sheriff is also the sheriff of Hinds County, wearing two hats.
Yeah.
And doing an amazing job. Absolutely one of the best guys. I hope he's
collecting the paycheck for both, because it feels like the results are worthy of that.
Well, and I'll say Chief Wade did a great job until he left, and then Sheriff Jones has absolutely done an amazing job. I don't see how he does it. We've had him on Mary's show a couple of times. He is one of the guys. You know what I'm saying? This guy, you do not want to mess with him, and I think that's kind of what you're seeing is I think this combination of Hinds County SO and JPD for a time has been a very good thing, and I know that may not be the way they go the long run, but he has done a remarkable job, Richard. I just got to say that. You know, he is a great guy.
Well, and the interagency cooperation, we get a message on the C Spire text line says, I'm sure Capitol Police helps as well.
Of course, yeah. He's amazing. Like
the multi-prong approach where everybody seems to be working together.
Yeah.
Has been good for the capital city.
Got a lot of good news happening here. Crime down, it's big things come from small beginnings. That's how it works.
Thomas in Greenwood says because more arrests discouraged crime. Maybe so. Maybe in part. I think more visibility discourages crime. All right, we got some sports headlines for you. I'm sorry for the pauses. I figure that's better than clearing my throat in your ears as you're listening on the radio this morning. Your morning sports update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort, your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. Yesterday, we got the news that Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss is returning to Ole Miss if the NCAA will allow it. He has agreed to a new deal that would have him return to the Rebels in 2026 if the NCAA approves his pending waiver for a sixth season of eligibility. In his first year at Ole Miss, the former Division II star has led number 6 Ole Miss to a record of 13-1 and to a national semifinal game coming up on Thursday night. Chambliss announced his decision on social media yesterday, saying, in part, this season has meant so much to me, especially because of the brothers I get to line up with every day and the unwavering support of the Oxford community. My teammates are family, and together we share a common goal to bring a championship home to Ole Miss. While this process is ongoing, there is no place I'd rather be than finishing my college football career in Oxford. All right, so what is the case for an extra year of eligibility? Chambliss has played 3 years of college football. Actually played. He had a true redshirt year, and then in 2022, I believe it was, he did not play at all because of a medical issue, a respiratory issue that led to the removal of his tonsils, and he was out for the year. And the NCAA said they needed more medical documentation. Chambliss, his representation, has hired Tom Mars, an attorney from Little Rock, who has worked against the NCAA extensively and successfully, has provided part of the information that Team Chambliss has since submitted. 91 pages of medical records, sworn statements by attending physicians, etc. And Mars has basically made the point, if this doesn't suffice the NCAA's request for more medical records, then nothing will. It's ridiculous that he has not already been granted this extra year of eligibility. So we will see where that goes.
Hey, one thing that's really interesting to me is Cam McCormick. Do you know that story? The 9 seasons, tight end, yeah, 20, and there was 3 other: Kyle Pugh, Frank Harrison, Matt Ganyard, all FBS teams, Virginia, UTSA, NIU. All these guys played 8 or 9 years in college football, and yet we're still worried about.
Well, things got real weird when everybody got the free COVID year, and then you could redshirt, and there could be a medical redshirt, and
sure,
it got pretty weird. Chambliss took over in Game 3 of the year as the starter after entering following Austin Simmons' injury. He has completed 66% of his passes, 3,660 yards with 21 touchdowns and just 3 interceptions. He is responsible for 29 touchdowns when you count the rushing scores. SEC Newcomer of the Year and finished 8th in the Heisman Trophy voting. Former Mississippi State football player Jeffrey Simmons broke the Titans' single-season record for sacks by a defensive tackle. Etched his name into the Titans' record book on Sunday with his 11th sack of the year. He took down Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence on the very first play of the game. He passed Terrell Casey's 10.5 sack mark set back in 2013. It's a good thing he set the record because there weren't many other bright spots for the Titans. They lost 41-7 to the Jaguars to end the season. Simmons will get a chance to play in the 2026 Pro Bowl games. Finished the year with 67 tackles, 39 of them solo stops. He had 11 sacks and 3 forced fumbles.
He's only 28 years old, too. It feels like he's been playing for 15 years. He's so good. You know, I mean, he's been so good since he hit the league.
Yeah.
Little Knoxville County boy right there.
If you are a college football fan, you know that the transfer portal is popping right now. I mean, popping. Names of players that have signed with Ole Miss at this point. Chris Jones, a linebacker from Southern Miss. Sharif Denson, a cornerback from Florida. Keaton Thomas, a linebacker from Baylor. Jonathan Maldonado, an edge rusher from Nevada. Michael Borrow, a defensive lineman from Florida. Jay Crawford, a cornerback from Auburn. And Jaheim Otis, a defensive lineman from Colorado. Now, for Mississippi State, the Bulldogs have added 3 players officially so far. Jason Jenkins, an edge rusher transferring from Florida State. Marquise Johnson, a wide receiver coming in from Missouri. And A.J. Swan, the former Vanderbilt quarterback, most recently at Appalachian State, transferring in, likely to be the backup for Kamario Taylor at Mississippi State. And for Southern Miss, 1 so far. That's interior offensive lineman Christian Young. So Christian Young, a transfer from Emory and Henry, headed to Hattiesburg to try and help out for Blake Anderson's team on the offensive line. Transfer portal, what a world we live in right now in college athletics. That's your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Online at pearlriverresort.com. We're back with you right after this.
From the Bendable Glass Traffic.
Right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
morning again. It is Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk Mississippi on this 6th day of January, approaching the 7 o'clock hour. We are also approaching the return to school for most kids across the state of Mississippi. Some of your kids went back yesterday, and some of them didn't start back until today. That was the case for our house. 3 different schools in Oxford, and everybody getting going on a Tuesday. Did you see what the note that went out yesterday from the Oxford School District, Lance?
No.
Excused absences, administrative excused absences on Thursday and Friday for any students in the Oxford School District that happened to be going to Ole Miss's semifinal game at the Fiesta Bowl. I thought that was really cool.
Heck yeah.
Now,
you do it right there.
As is the case with the idea of no good deed going unpunished, just stay off Facebook. If you're an administrator that was involved with this decision, stay off Facebook. It is a cesspool, especially the What's Happening in Oxford Facebook page.
Sounds like experience here.
No, I was just flipping through last night. I was like, ooh, there are 150 comments. Let me get into this.
They're not all good, huh?
And it's like, whoa, when are you going to give a day off for the kids that can't? Like, how about you just did something nice? Say thank you. If it doesn't apply to you, great. I mean, like, just stupid. Outright stupidity.
Keyboard brings out the best in people, Richard.
Isn't that the truth? All right. Daily lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery, mslottery.com. That's mslottery.com. No jackpot winner on Powerball last night. Wednesday's drawing up to $105 million with an estimated cash value of $47,400,000. The numbers yesterday, 4, 18, 24, 51, 56. The Powerball was 14. The Power Play multiplier was 2. Tonight, you've got a Mega Millions drawing. $180 million, the estimated jackpot cash value of almost $82 million as well. The Mississippi Lottery has 3 new scratch-off games that are on sale at authorized retailers. Leading the way is Millionaire Maker, the lottery's first ever $30 scratch-off, featuring more than $125 million in cash prizes, including 10 $1 million top prizes. I kind of raised my eyebrows at that. I'm like, $30? But think about it this way. I don't know how many tickets there are total of those. But if you got 10 $1 million top prizes, and that's a $30 ticket, how much do I spend on Powerball tickets? You know, as a jackpot's growing? And what are my odds on that versus having 10 chances to win? I don't know. Maybe the odds are better. Classic Bingo, $5. Top prizes up to $75,000. Emerald 8s is a $2 game, offering $20,000 top prizes. And to celebrate Millionaire Maker, the lottery is offering its biggest bonus promotion ever. Over $200,000 in cash giveaways. Non-winning tickets can be entered for a chance to win. Get details at mslottery.com or on the Mississippi Lottery official app. And click the bonus promos tab. Your lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. You got basketball tonight in the SEC. Neither Ole Miss nor Mississippi State is in action. However, you have number 18 Georgia at Florida, 6 o'clock tonight on the SEC Network. South Carolina is at LSU. Both of those teams looking for their first SEC win. Texas is at number 21 Tennessee. 2 more teams still looking for their first win in conference play. And 1-0 in the league, Texas A&M travels to Auburn. Auburn 9-5 overall, 0-1 in the SEC. State and Ole Miss will be in action on Wednesday night. State hosting Oklahoma, Ole Miss hosting Arkansas. And finally, you had last night the FCS championship game. Lance, did you happen to catch any of that?
I did not. Sadly, I didn't even know it was on.
It was fantastic. FCS championship games played in Nashville. They played at Vanderbilt's Stadium. Featured Illinois State and Montana State. They needed overtime. Montana State had a big lead in the game. Illinois State came all the way back, 14 fourth-quarter points. They were tied at 28. Illinois State got the ball first in overtime. They score a touchdown, and then bobbled snap, extra point missed. So now they got to go play defense. Montana State needs a touchdown and a PAT. On 4th down and 10, they score the touchdown, extra point good, 35-34. Bobcats over the Redbirds. Montana State, your FCS national champion. 7 o'clock hour on the way. We've got a bunch of guests coming up. We're back with you right after this. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up.
Time to shine! Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Little Axel F as we roll into the 7 o'clock hour on the Tuesday morning edition, January 6th of Mornings with Richard Cross. We are in the year 2026. How many times have you written 2025?
I did it a couple of times doing weather the other day, doing my files.
Yeah.
It's like, where did I put that? I had to go back to 2025.
I typed it a couple of times on stuff that I save, from the show day to day, and then had to rewrite a check. I was like, It was like the third day of the year. It was like 1/3/25. I was like, wait, something's not right here. Yes, 26. So yeah, new year. Not quite a week into it, and we're glad to be with you on Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. We're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. We're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Today is the day. The 2026 legislative session for the state of Mississippi begins. This is year 3 of a 4-year cycle. So you remember the way the legislature works in Mississippi, it's the first, the first Tuesday after the first Monday of the new year? I think that's the official. Anyway. In year 1, after we have a newly elected legislature, there is a 4-month term. So it's a 120-day session. And that's because they have new committee assignments, and you need a little more time to have newly elected officials go through some orientation and get everybody up to speed on the way that things work. So year 1 of the cycle is 120 days. They go through the end of March. I'm sorry, they go through the end of April. And then years 2, 3, and 4 of the cycle are 90 days. They go through the end of March. Talk to a legislator at some point and ask them how much longer that last 30 days is on the year when it's 4 months instead of 3 months. I mean, it's only 33% longer, but it feels like an extra 6 months in a lot of ways for them. So 90-day session. that they get started today. And yesterday, as has become customary, the Lieutenant Governor, Delbert Hosemann, Speaker of the House, Jason White, met with members of the media to kind of outline their priorities for this 2026 session. This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. Some of the issues that we've talked about a lot and we've kind of predicted and looked to as being defining issues for this year's legislature. First, on the education front, Jason White said yesterday, I just think where we are now in 2026, we're at a place where we can give our parents some choice without not only wrecking and messing up the gains that we've seen over the last few years, but actually taking those and expounding on that and getting us to a place where we continue to be the envy of other states when it comes to what we're doing in our K-12 education space. Now, the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker of the House do not see eye to eye on every issue. Maybe a lot of issues they don't see eye to eye on. And there certainly are differences of opinion in terms of school choice. Hosemann, in his press conference, his meeting with the media, said the school to which that student would move needs to have the ability to accept that student under the terms that it thinks are appropriate. Those make sense to me. We don't need a veto on kids moving around if they want to. And so at least at that base level, there is some agreement between the Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor. Which is part of the reason, if you've listened to the conversations that we've had with each of these gentlemen, it's part of the reason that when we were kind of making some predictions yesterday, I predicted that you're going to see some level of compromise that will allow district-to-district movement within the public school system. Also, on the education front, you are going to have conversations about teachers. Recruitment, retention, salaries, and also possibly the ability to recall is not the right word, but create an opportunity for retired teachers to go back into the classroom if they so choose without it affecting their retirement that they have already earned and are able to draw. Now, there are people that tell me that is more complicated on paper than it sounds like it is. So figure it out. Right, I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a retirement system expert. Why could you not simply make that teacher that comes back to the classroom that has already achieved retirement, could you not make them an independent contractor with the district and pay them as a 1099 employee instead of a W-2 employee? There may be some federal guidelines that don't allow that. But that seems like enough of a no-brainer to be able to allow teachers to teach for 25 or 30 or 35 years, depending on where they were in the PERS system, to retire, begin to receive their state retirement benefits that they have earned through the course of their time in the state retirement system, and either return to the classroom or continue to teach when we know we have a teacher shortage, and I'm not even sure, I mean, the phrase that you would use for that is double dip. Like, oh, yeah, in the way that you work in the state of Mississippi until retirement, you start drawing your retirement, and then you go get a job in the state of Alabama, and you're paying into their retirement system. That's double dipping. This isn't even double dipping. You've reached the point where you're eligible for your retirement, and then you continue to work. Just make you find a way to figure it out. I think that's going to be a conversation that is going to exist in the legislature this year, as is the conversation about PERS. Delbert Hosemann about the public employee retirement system said, we will be discussing significant contributions to the first plan to get us to that proposal. And I think we have generally a very perceptive understanding, both the Senate and the House, on that particular matter. And we will be releasing that as we do the budget and the rest of the things here shortly. Jason White, as he said on this radio program a few weeks ago, said you're going to continue to see us try to find a way to either make a large cash infusion to PERS or find a dedicated stream of revenue that probably, yes, will include some form of mobile sports betting. That's one of the ideas that Jason White has come up with, that he's talked about on this show. Mobile sports betting has gotten nowhere in the Senate. It has been passed multiple times in the House. It's a new revenue stream. Take the tax generated off that new revenue stream, let it go straight to PERS. Now you have a new revenue stream for PERS. Even if it doesn't fully cover the liability or the money that is needed to be infused into PERS on a daily basis, cuts into it. But no. At least not yet from the Senate. Will that change this year? I've not heard anything to this point that has made me believe there's been a change of heart. Not so much in the senators themselves, but in the people who support the senators and therefore in the senators themselves. If we're just being real. Back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
What did we do, Lance, to deserve to get to hear Hammer Time this morning?
We got Big Willie Russ on, man.
Oh, there you go. William Russell joins us from Washington, D.C. this morning, and always enjoy the... What studio are you in? Where are you this morning?
We are in the 13th and Park podcast studios at the Ballard offices. We have a podcast that's been out for several years, but we just hit 3 million subscribers. And so in celebration, we revamped the studio. And I get to use it to come and talk to you guys this morning. And so I want to wish you, Richard, a happy Hotty Toddy Tuesday, because I know it's a good week. It's going to be a good week.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think it is going to be a fun week. We'll jump on an airplane tomorrow and head west, and hope that I get to make a trip south after that. But we'll see. Awesome. Let's dive in. William Russell, he has worked for and with the Trump campaign as a senior advisor, state director in Mississippi, and he currently is a partner at Ballard Partners in D.C., a government services firm. And this Venezuela story is such a fascinating one, and I think it's got maybe even more layers than a lot of people realize at this point, or maybe even than most of us comprehend at this point. I want to start, though, with the reaction. It's so incredibly fascinating to me that in the final days of the previous administration, the Biden administration, with Kamala Harris as vice president, upped the reward to $25 million for information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. And you like how I rolled the R there? I don't know that was necessary, but and now we've got all the Democrats coming out saying that this was wrong. It's just impossible for them to say job well done for anything done by the Trump administration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's always going to be the Democrats' default position, right? That they are incapable of giving Donald Trump a pat on the back. Again, if Donald Trump came out and cured cancer, they'd complain that he took too long to do it. That's just the way that they are. Now, I think that the facts are that the people of Venezuela and Venezuelan Americans here in the United States are thrilled, and they see through the kind of political charade that the Democrats are putting forward right now.
I'm glad you said
the
that.
Reality
Forgive me for interrupting just for a second, because I didn't finish laying that out the way I should have, because the contrast to the reaction from the Democrats has been Venezuelans themselves celebrating what they view as liberation.
That's correct. I mean, I that's something that I've always done throughout, my political career, is try to listen to the people on the ground. Those are the people who actually matter, and they're going to give you the most real and raw emotion, and they're going to give you the most real and raw answers to your questions. And so to watch the people of Venezuela celebrate, watch the people of Venezuelans here in America celebrate. I mean, I'm 3 blocks from the White House, Richard. I know I've walked over there. I've seen people celebrating out in front of out on Pennsylvania Avenue. This is a real thing that we did. Now, the most important thing that we're going to have to do is the follow up. How is the president going to respond? And saying that the United States is going to run things for the time being, for the foreseeable future. That's not going to be an appropriate answer. I think that when the president is talking to Americans, he's going to have to lay out a little bit more thorough of a plan. I mean, there are those of us who are excited that Nicolas Maduro is no longer on the playing field. Mm-hmm. And we're excited about the opportunities that are opened up economically by having Maduro out of that position. But there are also those who remember that George W. Bush kind of said the same thing as we went nation building over in the Middle East. And so there's a little bit of a recoil, even on the right, when we start talking about the United States getting involved, running different countries. Right. So I think the president's going to have to be a little bit more communicative on that. But what he did was nothing short of amazing. What those SEALs did, what those special op teams did was nothing short of amazing. The diversion that was created and the way that they went in and got he and his wife, Maduro and his wife, that shows. And I would say that alone shows our enemies that we've still got it. We can still do this. Guys over in Cuba, they're wetting themselves at what they saw. They're terrified. In Colombia, they're terrified right now. That was the purpose, another purpose that this move served. It's the Done Row doctrine at work. And it pushes back China, it pushes back Russia, it pushes back Iran, who are all trying to play in our hemisphere.
All right, so that's where I wanted to go next. Does this create some doubt or some second thought in the minds of the leaders in China in particular about some of their maybe lofty plans for the future?
I don't think so. I think the reality is China is a behemoth, and this was not their only entree into the Western Hemisphere. It's just going to take some diversion, some creativity on their part. They're not going to stop. We talk about fentanyl being a problem, and a lot of it's coming from China. That's not going to stop, right? That's going to continue just through another avenue. And so it's a relentless effort. We can't pat ourselves. We as the United States can't pat ourselves on the back and say job well done and just kind of wash our hands of the situation. This is going to be, We've got other countries in Central and South America that need to be attended to in the coming days and months and years. And I think that this move that the president made with Maduro proves the point that we're willing to do that this administration is willing to get their hands dirty and get in and make change. Again, most important thing, though, is the follow-up. What does that look like? And I think the key piece that this administration is missing right now is the communicative portion. How are we messaging this to the American people? Because the truth is, Richard, here at home, we've still got domestic issues, right? We've got healthcare with prices that are skyrocketing that we need to get figured out. We've got, gas is going down, but affordability is still a big problem in this country. Yeah. We've still got immigration issues. We've still got Muslim extremism that's acting out in different pockets around the United States. And so we need to be cognizant also of what's going on here in the United States. And so when you put those two things side by side of what's happening domestically and what's happening internationally, we can get some international wins, but if the president and his team lose focus and start focusing too much on that and not enough on the domestic side of things, then we're in for a really bad this fall.
Well, and that's where I wanted to go next, because right, wrong, or indifferent, everything that this administration does for the next 6 to 10 months has to be viewed through the prism of midterms are on the way. Mm-hmm. I think that underscores the importance of the messaging that you were talking about, but not just the messaging, but the actual, the reality of, somebody pointed out on the C-Spire text line a second ago, George Bush said that about the Middle East in terms of nation building. He said, this is not the Middle East. Venezuela is not Muslim. It's a conservative country. This should be completely different and easier. I don't know about the easier part, but hopefully it is different.
The government is involved, by the way, so nothing's easier.
That is that's fair. What should that messaging be? That you talk about messaging to the American people. What should that be in terms of the plan for Venezuela?
Well, I think that they can continue on talking about Venezuela, right? And I think that they can talk about the economic drivers behind a free and open Venezuelan country, the imports that we can bring in, the oil, the natural resources that exist. It's a country that's rich in it, and I think that so there's commerce to be had there, right? I think, all right, do you like $1 a gallon gas when you put in your car? I think that's a good thing. That's what we can work towards when we have this commerce that is free flowing between Venezuela and the United States. But it's not just that, right? They could talk about that, but they could talk about the economic drivers, but tie it back into the domestic policy. Like, we don't see that kind of conversation. They're so hyper-focused right now in the White House and all the people, all parroting the talking points. They're hyper-focused right now on the foreign policy. The next step is, there was a picture that was taken with the president and Lindsey Graham on Air Force One that said, "Make Iran great again," with a hat. That kind of stuff is lost on Americans right now. Yeah. There needs to be more focus on driving a conversation with the domestic results that he's already given the Americans, but also what's coming down the pipe. There needs to be more talk about that. So, like I said, it's pushing one thing to the side. We're just talking more about the things to the heart of the issue, the kitchen table economics that people have. The truth is, it's hard for people to make ends meet right now. And so for him to just ignore that is completely tone deaf.
William Russell is my guest. He's a partner at Ballard in Washington, D.C. We're back right after this.
From the Seabrook.
Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Good morning. Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. So sexy it hurts.
Back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. William Russell is my guest. He's a former advisor to the Trump campaign, state director in Mississippi for the Trump campaign previously, currently a partner at Ballard in Washington, D.C. Talking a little bit about the situation in Venezuela, there was a Reuters poll that concluded yesterday, a 2-day poll. 72% of Americans say they are concerned that the United States may get too involved in Venezuela. 90% of those were Democrats, 74% independents, 54% Republicans. So there is legitimate concern, it seems, from a kind of a cross-section of the United States that we may do too much in what you referred to as nation building a second ago. To me, there's a second area of concern here, and that is the fact that Congress seems not to have known about the operation that was happening. Now, I think there's a very real argument to be made that if you leak information to Congress, if you share information with Congress, it immediately gets out, that information becomes public and it potentially threatens the lives of our American joint military forces. And yet, Congress absolutely plays an important role in this, and they are supposed to authorize military activity. Sometimes there's a workaround for a president to be able to at least start an action without getting full congressional approval. But it appears as if some of the major oil companies knew what was going on and were ready as soon as this information got out there. How do we kind of balance those two things?
Sure, that's a great question, and I think that we have precedent for making a move like this. I think the Iran bomb that was dropped last year, also precedent. We didn't give a congressional heads up when that happened. The reality is, for both that situation and this situation, we're not going to war with these countries. We are performing an operation that is targeted and that would be swift and out on with our lives. I think that's kind of the thought process when it comes from the White House. Like we have they have no desire to be in long-term entanglements with these countries. We have no desire to put boots on the ground. That's just the reality of the situation. And therefore, how much heads up does Congress actually need for a military operation to be performed? Which, when it's not a declaration of war, when we're not inserting a troop surge somewhere. I think it was fair I think it was right for the Trump administration to give a heads up and it wasn't just the oil companies. There were a lot of different companies that operate in the region that were given a heads up. Don't be here. Don't be around here during this time. It's the same thing with flights that were diverted. Flights that were not even bound for Venezuela. They were flying around Venezuela or over top of Venezuela. The result was don't go. The heads up was don't go near this area during this time. So I don't think. I mean, they can cry about it all they want, Congress, but it's really not necessary to give them a heads up for this specific action. I mean, we do military operations all over the world, not of this size, not with the ripple effect that this has, but we do military operations all the time, and we don't give Congress a heads up. This is just a military operation that ended up, dethroning a communist dictator, murderous communist dictator. And that's going to have a ripple effect. I think moving forward, if we were to do something like put boots on the ground, if we were to, in some weird way, this doesn't work out the way that we want, we have to declare war. And it's not just with Venezuela, but Iran or whomever we would potentially engage with. Yeah, I think Congress needs to have a heads up. I think they need to be given a briefing with the plan of action of how we're going to do this. But I completely agree with you. Once something goes to the members of Congress, it's basically out. There's no one that's going to hold a secret, especially something like taking Maduro out. I mean, how many decades have we talked about taking Maduro out? Joe Biden used to talk about this all the time. And like you said earlier in the last segment, upping the reward of $25 million, like they wanted this.
Yeah.
And I think that, the icing on the cake, that's one thing I didn't mention. The icing on the cake is bombing Hugo Chavez's tomb on the way out, because we could. Like that, I'm really appreciative of what these special ops guys did. And to be able to execute a mission like this as swiftly as they did, and to basically short of not having a murderous dictator in charge anymore, they left no trace, which is the whole point of an operation like that.
William, is there any concern for you about the case against Maduro and the Justice Department handling this within the court system in the United States? Most people say, hey, this is pretty open and shut, but he is going to have, I guess, the same rights that you or I would have if we were, it was the United States against William Russell or the United States against Richard Cross. We still would have rights in that process. Maduro seemed to be a little surprised learning that he actually had rights in this process. I don't know that the DOJ has functioned as well as at times we would have liked to have seen it over the last year. Will they get this one right?
I think so. And I don't think that this is going to be something that big DOJ, which is, the stuff that we read about in the headlines, that's happening at big DOJ from the very top. And the truth is the people at the very top are not managing the day-to-day operation with a case like this. He's getting charged. He was charged and will be tried in the Southern District of New York, which, as you and I both know, that's one of the most powerful districts in the United States.
Absolutely.
And the professionals of what they do. So, I leave it in the hands of the SDNY to do the job that they need to do to make sure this man never sees light again, to make sure that this man never breathes a breath of fresh air ever again. I trust the justice system to be able to do that.
Let me ask you this. Let's bring it back home just for a moment. We kind of over the holiday break, we got the reporting from Nick Shirley on the fraud cases in Minnesota with regard to child care centers and some health care centers, different reactions from different groups to that investigative work that he did. Yesterday, we get the news that Tim Walz he just wants to focus on what's doing best for Minnesota. And so he's not going to worry about a campaign and running for a third term as governor in Minnesota. How wide-reaching is this going to end up being, not just in Minnesota, but perhaps in other states?
That's a great question. And I say that because I think that there is fraud happening on a wide range, and it's not just exclusively in Minnesota. You look at Mississippi, for example. Shad White, the state auditor, has done a fantastic job of rooting out where fraud exists. Like, that's part of the job. And Mississippi is one of the reddest of red states out there. I think that having a situation like this in Minnesota crop up, and we're now seeing, holy cow, there's actually a problem here, just verifies the fact that it's happening, right? And for moving into more of partisan politics, you have Democrats who are out here defending the Somali fraudsters, and then they move in the same week over to defending a murderous communist dictator in Maduro, right? They're out of touch. They don't understand what's going on. But Republicans are now seeing wins. We see leaders in different states who are now moving forward and that's following also kind of the work of the Trump administration last year, right? With this this idea of doging the government, finding where there's impropriety, finding where there's fraud, finding where there's inefficiencies. I think this is going to kind of spread throughout, specifically the red states. I mean, my hope is that there are some blue states who take this seriously as well, like that there is something that is actually done about what's going on in Minnesota, the fraud that exists in that state. I think that my hope is that this trickles throughout other states, but that's yet to be seen. I mean, the fact that Tim Walz is pulling out of the race, like, it just gives it more legitimacy. I mean, that speaks volumes in my mind, that he's willing to step down.
And yet, if we go back to where we were just a few minutes ago and you're viewing everything through the prism of the midterm elections are only 11 months away, you still better focus on affordability issues, safety and security for the American people, or your ability to tackle some of these issues is certainly hindered moving forward. William, always appreciate your time. Great visiting with you this morning. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Richard. Good to be here.
William Russell, former Trump advisor, still sometimes in contact with the president and a partner at Ballard Partners in D.C. We'll wrap up the 7 o'clock hour next.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
All right, stop, collaborate and listen. I sit back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly, flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't
From
know.
MC Hammer to Vanilla Ice. That's the kind of morning it is today on the 6th of January, Tuesday morning. Glad to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross. Love to hear from you. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. That's the number if you want to join us on the C Spire text line. Find them online at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Lance, you like seafood, right?
Sure, yeah.
Do you like tuna?
I like real tuna. Yeah, I'm not big on the canned stuff.
Yeah, I'm not talking about chicken to the sea.
Like a tuna.
I'm talking about fresh tuna.
Yeah, big tuna steak. Good stuff.
Yeah, and maybe none better than when it's like full-on fresh. You're on the boat. Somebody knows what they're doing, and just cut it and you eat it right there on the boat. Just as good as it gets. Well, how much would you pay for outstanding bluefin? Over the weekend, a massive 535-pound bluefin tuna sold for a record $3.2 million at the first auction of the 2026 Tokyo Toyosu Fish Market. $3.2 million for a fish. The top bidder for the prized tuna at the pre-dawn auction on Monday was Kiyomura Corporation, whose owner runs the popular Sushi Zanmai chain. He has won the annual auction many times in the past and broke the previous record of $2.1 million on a single fish that he set in 2019. Later told reporters that he was hoping to pay a bit less, but, quote, the price shot up before you knew it. The auction started when the bell rang and the floor was filled with torpedo-shaped fish with their tails cut off so bidders could examine meat details such as color, texture, and fattiness while walking around the rows of tuna. The pricey fish was caught off the coast of Oma in northern Japan, a region widely regarded for producing some of the finest tuna in the world, where it cost a little better than $6,000 per pound.
Goodness.
Kimura, the winning bidder, said it's in part for good luck, but when I see a good-looking tuna, I cannot resist. I haven't sampled it yet, but it's got to be delicious. Hundreds of tuna are sold daily at the early morning auction, but prices are significantly higher than usual for the Oma tuna, especially at the celebratory New Year auction. Due to the popularity of tuna for sushi and sashimi, Pacific bluefin tuna was previously a threatened species due to climate change and overfishing, but its stock is recovering following conservation efforts. $6,000. I mean, you thought getting a Wagyu steak was expensive.
It's like the price of gold. Not really, but I mean, that's outrageous for a perishable item.
I guess you hope you've got diners at your restaurants that are ready to fork out the big bucks.
Yeah. Or you better get busy eating.
Yeah. How about that? They cut off the tail so you can see just a little bit of the meat and examine what it is that you're buying. A 500-pound, how would you like to catch that?
Be there all day on a rod and reel.
Oh, take a while to get that one in the boat. 500-pound tuna goes for $3.2 million.
I think we need to figure out a market for alligators here then. I mean, at those kind of prices, I got plenty of alligators.
CC in Senatobia says, that's just stupid. And he spells it with 2 O's. Some of the other messages from you on the C-Spire text line. My back just hurts thinking about catching that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a nap after that.
Yeah. Ben and Madison going a completely different direction. Thomas, by the way, says, and we gripe about $7 to $8 a pound beef. You've even complained about that this morning, Thomas. You're getting a deal. $6,000 a pound for bluefin. Now, Ben in Madison says this, not being talked about too much, but I believe it is time for us to redraw our congressional lines. CD2 needs to become more competitive. I understand that likely means at least one of the other districts will have a little more competition as well, but our state deserves so much better than Benny Thompson. Ben, apropos of nothing, I completely concur with what you are saying. We are still waiting and watching on the Supreme Court decision in that Calais versus Louisiana case, and whether or not that's going to pave the road for redrawing congressional lines here in Mississippi. We already had to do it for state-level elections, and it resulted in some net losses for Republicans. We'll see where that goes. That's from Ben in Madison. 8 o'clock hour is on the way. Keith Carter, the athletics director at Ole Miss, will join us to start things when we come back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Your SuperTalk Mississippi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
here we go. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross.
Now that's entertainment.
8 o'clock hour with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Mornings is brought to you and presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. 5 days ago, Ole Miss had its biggest win ever in college football, a 39-34 victory over Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. There have been other big wins, but none that have advanced Ole Miss to a national semifinal game. And 2 days from now, that's what the Rebels will do. They will take on the University of Miami in the Fiesta Bowl, 1 win away from an appearance in the national championship game. To talk about that a little bit more, Keith Carter, athletics director at Ole Miss. And Keith, the kind of win that the Rebels had last Thursday night is one that I would think you would like to kind of sit back and be able to bask in the glow and just soak it all in and enjoy that for a little while. The current calendar doesn't allow for that, and so you go from the biggest win in school history to now the biggest game in school history.
Yeah, no doubt. We actually had an advanced team that left the day after the game going out to Miami because you have to work kind of 2 games ahead in this thing to make sure you're ready for the next one, in case you get there. And so we did enjoy it that night. I don't think I slept much that night, just, watching replays and highlights and a lot of different things. But, man, just so happy for the guys. I've said it over and over, and Pete said it over and over. So happy for the team, the focus being back on them, some of these great stories that we have on our team. And, man, they're just resilient. And I love the maturity of this team and what they've been able to accomplish here with all the distractions and all the kind of noise around the team. But, man, really happy for them.
I feel like there are a lot of Ole Miss fans who may have gotten a sample of some of the logistics that your department is dealing with a week or two out in the immediate aftermath of the Sugar Bowl, because everywhere you looked, you had people looking at their phones, scrambling, trying to figure out, okay, flights, hotels, tickets, how am I going to do this? This is a big ask, whether it's Ole Miss fans or Miami fans or Oregon or, whomever's Indiana that's still playing, to ask fans to be able to pull this off week after week after week, potentially, it's hard to do.
It really is, and you look at, I guess, maybe 3 of the 4 teams that are left, haven't done this in a while, and so I think we're all kind of new to it. We don't want to miss anything, right? And we want to be at every round and every game and all of those things. But, talking to tons of people, after the game the past few days, planes, trains, and automobiles, right, trying to get out to Phoenix for the game. And but I'm hearing we're going to have a huge crowd, Richard. I think it's going to be awesome again. And, the Sugar Bowl and the Superdome turned into a home game. And I think this one may have a chance to do something very similar.
Maybe one of the most inexact sciences is looking at a crowd and judging, okay, how many of our fans are at this game, or what's the percentage breakdown? And people have, had lots of estimates of that. What is your best guess on number of Ole Miss fans that are going to make it to Glendale, Arizona in 2 days?
Well, just talking, Wesley Owen has been over our ticket office, now works in our foundation, and has been around here a long time, has been to a lot of games, has called a lot of attendance numbers in his lifetime, and he's got a pretty good, pulse check on this, and he's thinking we could have as many as 30,000 fans out there. And so I think that would be incredible. I think we probably had a few more than that in New Orleans. Just based on what we've sold and what he's seeing and hearing in the secondary market and those type of things. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like you said, it's tough to get out there and it's expensive to get out there and stay and do all the things. But, our folks are so fired up. And, this is one of those that even people who initially, maybe right after the game said we weren't going to go, you talk to them again and they're finding a way to get out there. So, I think it'll be an awesome Ole Miss crowd for sure.
That FOMO is kicking in for some people in terms of not wanting to miss this one. There are a lot of people around college football that have talked about the calendar and the way the things that have to happen are set up, not just in terms of the playoff and the quick turnaround, but managing the transfer portal, which has become such a big part of college athletics, particularly in college football. Is there any discussion with your peers, fellow athletics directors in the SEC, other conferences, that lead you to believe that there could be some amendments to the calendar that make this all make a little more sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the big discussion. Obviously, with our situation here, and all the stuff that was happening during the season, then you've got a playoff team with the coach leaving and those type of things. That's one part of it. But then you throw the transfer portal in and, it opens on the same day that there's still 4 teams alive. And, you're having to do double duty and triple duty and all those things. So, then you roll right into spring practice. I just think there's a lot that we could do, Richard. And, there's some complicated parts of it, but there's some things that we could solve pretty easily, I think, if we would just put our heads together and, not get political about it and everybody kind of get on the same page. But, I think we gotta shift it because there's just too many things that are happening at the same time. It's putting coaches and players in really bad positions. And, I think we certainly need to look for that reform here soon.
What would your solution be? If they just said, hey, Keith, you get to make the rule going forward that is best for all of college athletics, how would you approach it?
Well, I think you got to push your signing day and your portal back past, after the season. I mean, that's what's got to happen, and that's a big one. And what that does, though, it hurts spring practice, and these coaches want to have, all their players in there for spring practice. So I think you got to totally rethink what that looks like, more of the NFL model in June and July with OTAs and those type of things. I think there's a way to do it. I think that could help academically as well. A lot of our student athletes are having a lot of problems with all these transfers when they're transferring mid-year, and a lot of those things, credits aren't transferring. So I think there's some things we could do there. But to me, it's about getting the season finished. I mean, you look at any other sport, off-season moves happen after the season. and it's just a pretty natural thing. And so we've got some models in the pros we can look at. We're not exactly like the pros, but certainly trending more in that direction. So I think there's some things we could take from them. But again, there's some challenging pieces to it, but and really the challenges just change. I think it's more that it's not what we've always done, and it's different. And that first year or two, coaches would have to get used to a new schedule. But I think that we'd look back and say, man, this was a good way to do it.
If you look about a month in the rearview mirror, you made the decision to hire Pete Golding as the new head coach, and Ole Miss fans have certainly taken quickly to him. A couple of playoff wins in his first 2 games as head coach have not hurt that relationship at all. What do people not know about Pete Golding as they are kind of learning on the fly about him, about his style in terms of recruiting and coaching, and the way he deals with the media and the way he deals with the public?
Well, it's interesting you asked me this because I was talking to somebody about it yesterday. Pete, has this persona, and, he's a ball coach. We all know that, and has kind of grown up and on the defensive side of the ball, just a go-getter, and kind of what you see is what you get. And I think Pete likes people to think that about him, but Pete's a really smart guy. I mean, really, really smart. And when you kind of sit down with him and talk to him, and man, I've said this, I've quoted this a few times, like I'm not surprised with what I've seen in the past 4 weeks, but I'm just very, very impressed. And so, all the things you think about, all the multitasking and, the moving parts he's had to deal with over the past 4 weeks, and throw in a couple, like you said, a couple of wins, and it's been amazing. And so just to be able to hold that building together, and now we're seeing a lot of retention, with our guys, that are coming back, and it's just been incredible to see. But it's been fun, for me. Of course, I knew Pete, before, and he's been here 3 years. But the time that I've been able to spend with him and be in that building with him over the past four weeks has been pretty cool.
There was a lot of excitement yesterday with the announcement that Trinidad Chambliss, if allowed by the NCAA, is going to return for another year at Ole Miss. Certainly that was a coup in terms of recruiting and roster building and all of those things. What's going on with the NCAA? We've been hearing it should be any day now when you find out about the waiver and whether or not he's given that medical redshirt year retroactively. Where is that?
Well, I hate to say the answer is probably still it should be any day. The NCAA shut down basically for about 10 days over the Christmas break. They opened back up this past Friday. Our thoughts were that they probably got back in the office really yesterday and probably sat down and started to look at this again. So, our hope is that we can have, some type of answer here in the next few days. Obviously the longer this thing takes, the worse it is for Trinidad, the worse it is for us, and all those things. But obviously, getting him to announce yesterday that he's coming back, we think that's a huge piece of our roster next year, and we hope that the NCAA sees that this is a big deal. This is the life of a young man, and it's the right thing to do to grant this waiver.
About 30 seconds left. Team leaves today about lunchtime. Is that right? To head to Arizona?
That's right. Yeah, they leave. I think the flight's at 2 out of Tupelo, and then we'll go play some football and see what happens.
A lot of excitement there. I know you got a lot on your plate. Appreciate you making a few minutes for us this morning, and look forward to seeing you in Phoenix.
Awesome. Thanks, Richard.
That's Keith Carter, Athletics Director at Ole Miss, as the Rebels get set for a matchup with the University of Miami in the Fiesta Bowl. Game is at 6:30 Central Time, 5:30 Mountain Time on Thursday, televised on ESPN. Take a quick timeout. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
It's time to switch on.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Yeah!
We roll on with you on this Tuesday morning. State Treasurer David McRae will join us about 15 minutes from right now. Talk about what's happening in the Treasurer's office and the recent announcement that Forbes has ranked the Mississippi Affordable College Savings Program as the 6th best 529 program in the country. 529 is, of course, the vehicle for college savings, and a lot of good stuff happening in the State Treasurer's office. David McRae joins us coming up at 8:37 this morning. An interesting announcement yesterday from the Trump administration that has gotten very mixed reviews. And the interesting part to me is who is saying they are for this versus who is saying they are against this. The United States took the unprecedented step yesterday of cutting the number of vaccines that it recommends for every child, a move that leading medical groups have said would undermine protections against a half dozen diseases. The change goes into effect immediately, meaning that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will now recommend that all children get vaccinated against 11 diseases. But some of the recommendations that are going away include vaccines that protect against the flu, rotavirus, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, some forms of meningitis or RSV. Instead, with those particular illnesses, protections against those diseases are only recommended for certain groups deemed high risk, or when doctors recommend them in what is called shared decision making. That would be decisions in conjunction with the parents. Trump administration officials said the overhaul, a move that Robert F. Kennedy, who is the HHS secretary, has been wanting for a while, will not result in families who want the vaccines losing access to them. He said that insurance will continue to pay for those vaccines. But medical experts say, yeah, this really just creates murky water, creates confusion for parents, and could increase preventable diseases. Right now, states, not the federal government, have the authority to require vaccinations for school children. And while CDC requirements often influence those state regulations, some states have begun creating their own alliances to counter the Trump administration's guidance on vaccines. The change comes as U.S. vaccination rates have actually been going down, and the share of children with exemptions has reached an all-time high. At the same time, rates of diseases that can be protected against with vaccines, such as measles and whooping cough, are rising across the country. Woo! Not entirely different from what we were talking about earlier about the people who are against what the United States did in Venezuela. And largely we're talking about Democrats there who are they're not being forced to, but they are choosing to defend a murderous dictator that was apprehended by the United States because it was done by the Trump administration. Some of those same people who have stood at protests and at rallies and chanted, "My body, my rights," government, stay out of my doctor's office, leave me alone, I get to make my decisions about my body. If I don't want to have a baby, then I should be able to abort that baby, etc., etc., etc. Those are some of the people who are screaming loudest about This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. How dare Bobby Kennedy and the Trump administration strip away the protections of vaccines for children? Which is kind of the height of hypocrisy. Some of the same people that think minors, and in some cases children that are not even teenagers, should be able to make life-changing, life-altering decisions about their body without the consultation of their parents, only through the consultation of their doctor. Some of those same people are yelling from the mountaintops, Trump is evil, Bobby Kennedy is evil. I'm just being honest here. I'm not a medical professional by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not 100% sure what I believe about this or how I feel about this. I do think that as a country, we are probably over-vaccinated. I think we're probably over-medicated. I know, not think, but I know the efficacy of, and you know too, I mean, this is not like proprietary information that I've got. We know that the efficacy of some antibiotics that we have relied on for decades is waning because of the overprescription of said antibiotics. Germs are smart. Diseases are smart. We don't necessarily think about them as operating with a brain in the same way that we do. But diseases and germs and illnesses build immunity to the things which fight them off. And so when you readily and easily and without any thought prescribe antibiotics over and over and over and over, they become less effective over time. The diseases that sometimes live within our bodies build immunity to those treatments for them. But all of my children, 3 of them, and I recognize that Jane and I are fortunate, we are blessed that overall we have very healthy children. They are not without their ailments and unique circumstances, like most kids. But we've been blessed with overall healthy children. And all 3 of our kids got all of the vaccines at the ages that they were supposed to get them. And you look at this and you're just like, okay, are we unnecessarily putting things into our children's bodies just because we're told to? And by the way, the list of recommended vaccines prior to this announcement yesterday for the United States is a significantly longer list than for any of the other nearly 24 developed countries that the United States is kind of compared to when you're talking about health outcomes. So the vaccines that are still recommended for children, MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella, DTaP, that's diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, or whooping cough, the vaccine for polio, the vaccine for chickenpox, the HPV vaccine, Hib or Haemophilus influenza type B, which despite having influenza is not the same, not related to actual flu, and then PCV. So those are the vaccines that are still recommended and required. The ones that are no longer broadly recommended by the CDC for all children, flu, rotavirus, Hep A and Hep B. I'm going to mispronounce this. Meningococcal disease, RSV, and COVID-19, that's actually a change that was made a year ago. Medical experts said the changes that are being made without public discussion or a transparent review of the data would put children at risk. Really, really interesting dynamic when you see who's for this, who's against it. We'll see. We'll take a time out. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. State Treasurer David McRae joins us coming up next.
From the Seabrook.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Glad to be with you on this Tuesday morning, the 6th of January. Richard Cross, Lance Tolber, thanks for joining us. C-Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. You want to join the conversation? That's the best way to do it. Happy to welcome in now the state treasurer here in the state of Mississippi, David McRae. He joins us in studio. Mr. Treasurer, good morning.
Good morning, Richard. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. And kind of starting the new year off with good news in the state treasurer's office, a top 10 ranking for the state of Mississippi's 529.
Well, we're excited to say, and I'm excited to point out that right before Christmas, it was a great Christmas present. Forbes ranked our college savings program here in Mississippi number 6 in the nation. We are the best in the Southeast. We outsurpassed states that fund, much bigger states than ours, states that put in a lot of money into their college savings program. We do a lot for our college savings program here, so don't let me diminish that. But we are the best in the South for our college savings program, and it was a huge shock. I mean, not surprising. I mean, we're great at what we do over at the Treasury, of course. But, it was, I didn't know Forbes was doing this. And Forbes had ranked all these programs. And like I said, right before Christmas, I got a letter that said they're going to name us number 6 in the country. Wow. And, that just goes to show you that the Treasury is doing a lot of work for Mississippi. My staff, my team has pushed these programs, and we are seeing an increase in enrollment in these programs. And it's just, I was just over the moon about it.
What are the factors that go into this ranking? Is it simply investment returns, or is there more to it than that?
It's that plus the flexibility of the program. Our program is very unique, and this is going to sound a little complicated, so if I can kind of break it down. But one thing our program does that other states don't do is that if you live out of the state, you can invest in Mississippi's MAC program. And so a lot of grandparents are buying those programs for their grandchildren who live out of state, so they will come back to Mississippi and go to one of our universities. And so that was a huge factor that other states don't do. A lot of the states above us don't actually have a residency requirement. Ours doesn't. Also, the flexibility of our program. We allow it to be used for so many things, not just tuition, but everything a college kid's going to need in college to prepare. Also, the fact that we use it for vocational training. We can use it for vocational training. We can use it for high schools. You can use your MAX program for, private high schools. I know a lot of people who go to Prep, JA, St. Andrews, MRA, Hartfield, all around the state. They use it to pay for their kids' high school tuition.
Oh, wow.
And finally, one of the other big things is we allow it to be used for teachers' supplies. So we have a lot of teachers who go and see us at these events, sign up for it, and get parents to get in whose kids may be in that teacher's class so that they can pay for the supplies. And with the MAX program, the individual invests that money. So if the teacher gets, a couple $1,000s for school supplies, they can start investing that and grow it over time and never really have to worry about school supplies again.
Well, and even the name of the program has changed over time. If you go to the Treasury website, you see Mississippi College and Career Savings. It hasn't always been and career has it?
No. That is something we started a couple of years ago because we saw that vocational training was such a large factor in people subscribing to these programs. I mean, I've said it on this show before. The new generation of student or person who's going to college, they are foregoing the 4-year college experience. They are going to vocational training or community college and learning a skill, whether that's in cybersecurity or welding, plumbing, nursing, whatever, because they are seeing a value in that and making more money upon graduating a community college or vocational training than they see going to 4 years. Now, look, I mean, 4 years is great, and some people it's for some people, and some people it's not.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people are using these MAX programs for that. We're also seeing a lot of people using the MAX program to go to a community college and do very, very well at these community colleges and then get a scholarship and then finish out their last 2 years at a 4-year institution.
All right, so help me with this. I know your job is, at least in a lot of ways, to provide the information for parents, for families in terms of planning, not to make the decision for them. Because individual families or parents need to make whichever decision is best for their children. But there is a difference in a 529 and the affordable savings plan for Mississippi schools, right? If you can prepay for college in Mississippi at today's rates for tomorrow's children, or you can just create a 529 that allows you to save for college that gives you more flexibility. Did I say that right?
Close. Very close.
Well, fix it for me.
So 529 is the overall college savings program title.
Okay.
So that is, if you look it up in federal statute, it is under Title 529. So that is what it is. That section in 529. Under the 529 program in Mississippi, we have two options. You have the prepaid college tuition, which is the one that you were mentioning just a second ago, where if college costs $1 today when you sign up, it'll cost $1 when your child's ready to go to college. I mean, you're prepaying ahead of time. And that's the one that's primarily for Mississippi schools and public Mississippi schools, so not private institutions. The MAX program, which is the one that was ranked, is the one that is kind of like a checking account. You put in a little bit of money. You can put in as little as $25, and then that will grow over time, and you're in charge of those investments, and it's super flexible. That's the one that can be used for tuition, supplies, everything. It can be used for in-state, out-of-state with no penalty. It's a very flexible program, not just for tuition. And we're seeing a lot of people buy the prepaid one and the MAX one at the same time to totally cover the college experience and college cost. Both have the same goal in mind. It's to help children and families graduate college with little to no debt. I've said it a million times, and I'm going to say it again. The average adult upon graduating college, because they're adults when they graduate college, is $35,000. That affects life decisions. You've talked to Shad White here. You've talked to every other government official in the state here, and we constantly complain about the brain drain. That is why we have a brain drain. Is people go to college, spend too much money, and they have to go somewhere else to get a job. And right now, with the governor and the Senate and House and everybody else getting these jobs here, having these college savings accounts, having the ability to use it for vocational training and everything is going to help bring jobs to Mississippi, and it's also going to help keep these kids in Mississippi. We're training bright, young men and women, and we want to keep them here.
There's no harder check to write than the check for a student loan repayment. And I mean, I say that from experience. I mean, having done it, and I was fortunate my parents helped with school, but there are some things that were my responsibility as well. And having to pay that money back years after you're done with college, it is the hardest check there is to write.
Well, I have friends who graduated law school with me back in 2011, and they're still paying college debt back. I mean, and that's ever how many years ago, and they're still paying college debt back, and debt regardless of it being college, but paying that mortgage every month, writing that check or seeing it go out of your bank account. It's a hard check to write, and you hope you got value out of with the college. You hope you got value out of it, and a lot of people don't see that value, but college is whatever you want to make it, but we're here to help. We're here to help alleviate that debt.
One of the things that we have heard from the legislature is there's the excess money that the state has right now in a good financial position, a couple of $100 million, maybe $300 million that is on the side. Some of that's rainy day funds. Some of that is extra money. I'm assuming that money sits in accounts that you control. Is it working while it is not being spent?
Yes, so the state is in the best financial state that it's ever been in not in my lifetime, but pretty much since the mid-'90s, early '90s. We have more money than we know what to do with, and it is. I do handle all the investments of the state. I am the bank. I am the financial officer of the state, and that's what I do. It is being invested. Last year we had a great return on that investment, little close to 4% return, which is awesome because we have to be so conservative. So I know some people are probably listening.
I was going to say there are some people that hear 4% and they're like, I can do better than that. But
sure,
there are some. Yeah, I know you could as well. Probably a lot better. But there are some constraints because this is not your money. It is the state of Mississippi's money. It's our money.
Right. So, that's what I was going to say. The caveat is, personally in my life, I can do better than that myself. And we could do better than that. But we have to be so conservative with that money. I mean, think of it like an insurance company. They have to be able to pay out, any claim that money, that somebody claims. We have to be so liquid in this state so that we can, if XYZ agency needs money, we have to be able to give them that money. We have to be able to say, hey, we have that money in our bank. We can give that to y'all. So, 4% for a state, it's incredible. I mean, consider the conservative limitations that we have on it.
Do you actually sign checks that go out?
No, that's Liz Welch and DFA's.
Okay.
I wish I could. That'd be fun to see my name on it.
I was going to say, I was curious what the biggest signed check you've had to send out for government purposes has been.
I think it'd make me cringe.
I can imagine. Treasurer David McRae, always enjoy the visits. Thanks for the update for the Treasurer's office,
right.
And we'll stay in touch. Always
all right,
good to visit with you.
Well, good luck to Ole Miss on Thursday.
Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of Ole Miss, I'll say thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Richard.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. That is State Treasurer David McRae. Good things happening in the Treasurer's office. We're back with you to wrap things up. Coming up next, it's Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable.
What are we going to do? Rise and shine with information and insight.
Check it out.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good time. Anytime you need a payment. Good time. Anytime you need a friend. Good time. Anytime you're out from under. Not getting hassled. Not getting hustled. Keeping your head above water. Making a way when you can. Temporary layoffs. Good times. Easy credit rip-offs. Good times.
You got land on your mind? The dream of owning land, a place to hunt where you make the rules and you can kind of get out and stretch your legs. Maybe a place for a cabin or a dream home or just an investment. Whatever your land needs are, David Fisher Land Company can help you. They are located, at least from a corporate standpoint, in Inverness, Mississippi, right there in the heart of the Mississippi Delta. They have collectively been in the land business for over 40 years. They service Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. At David Fisher Land Company, whether you're looking for 100 acres or several thousand acres or maybe an equity share in a hunting club, they can help. They're ready to earn your business. And if you've got land to sell, they've got customers across the Southeast, which makes David Fisher Land Company an easy choice. Been telling you for months now about their website, davidfisherland.com. You can see some of the listings that they have available for purchase right now. davidfisherland.com. Reach out to David, Jack, or Travis. They would love to help with your land needs. And we hope that you'll tell them that you heard about them from us here at SuperTalk, Mississippi. davidfisherland.com. That is davidfisherland.com. At some point, we don't have really time to do it right now. We've got to dig a little bit deeper into the to the Venezuela story. You know, the headline is drugs and stopping the flow of fentanyl. But I don't think you've got to be a rocket scientist or a Rhodes Scholar to know that there is a whole lot more at stake with Venezuela than just drugs and the import of those drugs into the United States. That may have been a nice cover story, but so much of this is about oil. There was an interesting post on X a couple of days ago from a Russian billionaire. His name is Oleg Deripaska. He warned that if the United States secures control over Venezuela's oil fields after already moving into Guyana, it could end up overseeing more than half the world's oil reserves. In his view, Washington would then be able to hold oil prices near $50 a barrel, putting serious pressure on Russia's state capitalist economic model. One of the fascinating things about Venezuela, and by the way, I don't believe that the United States has any interest, well, has little interest in taking over Venezuela, running Venezuela. That's not what this was about. It's about a partnership, with maybe the most mineral and oil and gas rich company in the world. There is more oil and natural gas in Venezuela than there is in Saudi Arabia. There is more gold in Venezuela than there is in all of the gold mines of Africa. Which is staggering to think about when you say that out loud. I was reading one commentary yesterday that said, you know, when you look at this socialistic dictatorial government that has been in place in Venezuela from Hugo Chavez into Nicolas Maduro, it's not greed that has bankrupted that country and left it in abject poverty. It's idiocy. It's incompetence. It's not just that those who were running the country were terrible people that wanted no pushback, that there was no protest, no allowed opposition to the government, that it was a narco state run by a dictator. It's not just that that dictator was greedy and wanted it all for himself. It's that they were too stupid to understand how to leverage the resources, the natural resources of their country to take advantage of it. Maybe the United States can help in that. Maybe that's not our role. It's a pretty complicated geopolitical landscape. Thanks for being with us on this Tuesday morning. Covered a lot of ground today. Lance, appreciate it very much.
Yes, sir. See you tomorrow.
We'll see you in the morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm. Presented by Community Bank. Rooted in our community, communitybank.net. We hope you have a great Tuesday. We'll talk to you in the morning.
I don't fool around with no Oscar Mayer wiener. You must be sure that your girl is pure for the funky cold Medina.
Your home. A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.